Chapter 6. Remnants and Resolve. The searing pain that enveloped Justin's body had become a familiar companion over the past 3 weeks. Bandages covered most of him, the flesh beneath raw and pulsing, a constant reminder of the fire that had both destroyed his life and granted him a grim form of survival. The sterile hospital lights reflected off the silver bars of the bed frame, casting a dull, clinical glow over the room. Slowly, he cracked his eyes open, blinking as he tried to piece together his surroundings. His voice rasped from disuse, and he struggled to even form a thought through the fog of pain and medication. "Justin, Justin, you're awake," came a gentle voice, pulling him out of his haze. "I'm your nurse. Don't try to move. Let me get the doctor in here. You've had so many visitors. Be back in a bit." She hurried off, and he could only watch her retreating figure, feeling a strange sense of detachment. The flashbacks came in waves, hitting him like cruel reminders of his own failures. The fire, its blinding heat, the way the flames had crawled up the walls with almost deliberate intent, it all replayed in his mind. How had he survived? Why was he still here, while Jessica was gone? He forced his eyes shut against the memories, but the image of her lifeless face wouldn't fade. The door opened, and a tall man in a white coat stepped inside. "Mr. Flowers," the doctor began with a grave expression, flipping through the chart in his hands. "You've pulled through the hardest part of recovery. Against the odds, really. You suffered third-degree burns on 80% of your body. It's going to be a long road ahead, but you're alive." The words barely registered before the doctor's expression softened. "Justin, the firefighters couldn't get to your wife in time. I'm so sorry." Justin's vision blurred as his eyes welled up, not from grief, but from the agony radiating through every inch of his body. The doctor must have noticed his discomfort, because he nodded toward the nurse who had returned, signaling her to increase the dose of his pain medication. "There's something else," the doctor said quietly, once the nurse left. "The authorities want to speak with you. There were questions about the fire, but I told them it would be a while before you'd be ready." He glanced away, clearly uncomfortable. "You should get some rest." The doctor's words lingered in Justin's mind as the morphine dulled the sharp edge of pain, blanketing him in a warm, hazy comfort. The authorities wanted to talk to him. Of course they did. He'd anticipated this moment, but that didn't make it any easier. As his eyelids grew heavy, the memories of that night, red, intense, and consuming, washed over him until he drifted off into a drug-induced sleep. Weeks later, Justin sat in a wheelchair, being pushed down the hall toward the physical therapy wing. His muscles ached from disuse, and his face was bandaged and raw. He was dimly aware of his surroundings, the sterile walls, the low hum of medical equipment, the smell of antiseptic. But his mind was elsewhere, still haunted by the events that had brought him here. As they neared the reception area, he caught sight of a uniformed police officer, broad-shouldered and watchful. The officer's eyes followed Justin, his gaze cold and assessing. Justin's breathing quickened, and he instinctively brought a hand to his throat, his mouth dry as he mouthed the word water. The transporter, noticing his distress, assured him, "Almost there. I'll get you some right away." The officer turned back to the receptionist, but Justin could feel the scrutiny in that brief exchange. The authorities were not just waiting, they were circling. The transporter guided him through a set of double doors, leading into the physical therapy room. Inside, two doctors stood near a sleek black case, their expressions tense but eager. One of them nodded at Justin with a smile. "There he is," one of the doctors said, gesturing for the other to open the case. "We know you've been through a lot, Justin," the doctor continued, lifting a mask out of the case. A prosthetic mask, crafted with painstaking detail. "This is the best technology available right now. It's yours to use while we work on more permanent options with our plastic surgeon. With this, you'll be able to go outside to feel a bit of normalcy." Justin stared at the mask, transfixed. It was lifelike, a semblance of a face he barely recognized anymore. They wanted to give him a new mask to face the world, to put on something that would make him acceptable again. The irony stung, and he forced a smile, nodding mechanically as the doctor droned on about the features and functionality of the prosthetic. But inside, his thoughts churned. What good could come of this life now? A fresh start, they'd call it. He was free, yes, but free to do what? To walk the streets as a new man, but one cloaked in lies and tragedy? As he was wheeled back toward his room, he felt a strange sense of clarity settling over him. The life he'd once known was gone, reduced to ashes and empty memories. But this new face, this fresh start, it was his to control. A dark resolve hardened within him as he fingered the edges of the mask. This time, he would shape his destiny, and he would do whatever it took to ensure that no one, not the authorities, not his past, would stand in his way.